Jamie, and welcome back to my channel where I talk about all things cross stitch. Today is Sunday, April 30th, and I am back for my update about my progress in April. So if you watched my last video, you'll know that I was doing I called it Arbitrary April. I didn't coin it. Sarah, the Stitchin' Mommy, coined that term for her plans in August. Usually every year she kind of just spins a wheel and does whatever it says. So I decided to go ahead and try that for April. So I had two wheels that I used. I had all of my non-full coverage on one and all of my full coverage on the other. And yeah, so I just kept spinning back and forth. I have a lot more non-full coverage in my rotation. So I kind of did a 2 knot, 1 full coverage, 2 knot, kind of that way. But even still, by the end of the month, I had kind of changed my plan on what I wanted to get done. So, which, if you guys know me at all, you probably would have seen that coming. So, I worked on 9 projects during the month of April, and I actually have a finish to show, which I'm super excited about. I finished it all last night. About like 11:30 last night. So I posted it up on Instagram and stuff this morning. But I'm gonna go ahead and start with that piece first, and then we'll go through all the other WIPs that I worked on. So I finished Lady Justice. And here she is, all finished up. This is a pattern from Mirabilia. Artist is Nora Corbett, I believe. And she is stitched on 32 count Lugana from Be Stitch Me in the color Evil Queen. And I did it all 2/2. And everything else was called for, beads and metallics. It was all what the pattern called for. So if you can see from the progress photo, I managed to finish the rest of her skirt, which was a beast. So I finished all of that. And then I came back up and did her hand with the sword in it. And then I came back around and finished up the beading. This was my first attempt at beading. I'm not sure how well I did with it. It looks all right. I did notice that maybe a couple of places the beads were a little bit loose, so I'm not sure if I need to work on like my tension or something like that. But overall, I mean, I think it looks pretty good. And none of them are like falling off or anything, so they are secure. It's just maybe not as tight as I would have liked. So I'm gonna hold her in a little bit so you can see her more on a close-up. So she's got all those gold beads in her hair, the sword, maybe you can see with the light. That's a metallic. The sword handle is, or the hilts part right here, and then the 2 weights, I guess, off of that are all metallic. And then we've got beading throughout. So those little circles are all gold beads down to the bottom. But yeah, she's all done. I'm super excited about that. I'm gonna try to, in the next month or two, get her up to the stitching shop that I go to in Salt Lake. It's called the Craft Center of Fine Stitchery. So I'm gonna try to get her up there so that they can frame her for me. Cause I put in a lot of work on this one. And I wanna make sure that it looks nice when it's all in the frame and everything. I think it deserves a professional job, so that is my finish. So I've now finished two of the 4 projects that I have been planning to finish this year. That was kind of unexpected. I had until the end of June to finish it, to get a finish every 3 months, but I picked it up and I just kept wanting to come back to it. And since it was like an arbitrary month where I was just kind of like, I stitch what I want, I kept coming back to it. And eventually I got to a point where I was like, I am so close to finishing this, I can't just leave it at this point. So she's done. So that is finish number 2 for the year. I do have 2 left that I want to finish. There's Pandemic and my Twisted Band Sampler. But now I've got, what, 8 months? Yeah, 8 months left of the year, so I've got 4 months for each, so it's looking pretty good so far. But, so let's go through my WIPs now. And that took me, during the month of April, it took me about 7 stitching days to finish. Some days I worked on it where I worked on something else, so it wasn't like my whole stitching session, but it took me about 7 days to finally finish off her skirt and all the beading and everything. So the first thing I spun on the wheel was Paris of My Dreams, which is a Heaven and Earth Designs chart. And the artist is Leonid Afremov. And this was one of the patterns that I hadn't worked on in quite a while. The whole reason behind the arbitrary April was so that I could actually work on some of these things that weren't necessarily in my plan from the beginning of the year, but I really wanted to put some work into them. So this is Paris of My Dreams. I'm stitching mine on a 25 count DMC Magic Guide 2/1 with the DMC. And this is a lot of fabric, so might be a little bit more difficult to wrangle here. So got it rolled up. Sorry, I had all these like set out and everything super nice, and this one is just not cooperating. So I'll just hold it like that. So this is where I'm at from last time. And I worked on this one, I believe, for 2 days. So for my wheel, I was working on a project for a maximum of 3 days, or when I got tired of working on it. Most of the projects I got at least 3, sometimes more, but this was one where I only worked on it for 2. And I got 734 stitches. And I am doing like a diagonal kind of a stitching technique on this one. I'm doing kind of a stair stepper. So I took like this square and then moved here, and I just keep taking squares down, and then I just pick the first unfinished color and take it where it goes. So I got a lot more filled in over here. I believe this is the edge of the page. So I do love working on this one. I am not sure that this is like super high on my priority list. I do love working on it. Like this, a lot of my projects, I want to get them finished because I want to see them on my wall. And this one is more of I love to see the picture forming. So I'm okay if it doesn't get finished right away. So we'll see how long that one takes me if I ever get it done, or it might just be an ongoing WIP forever. So the next thing I spun was Legend of Zelda, which is a pattern I got off of Etsy. And this one is being currently stitched on a 25 count black Lugana 1/1 full crosses. I may or may not be changing this one up. So I don't struggle a ton working on black fabric, but it's definitely not the easiest thing for me to use. But when it's all light colors, I'm totally fine with it. But in this version, this pattern, it has a lot of dark like shadowing next to the light colors. And even with a good lighting behind me, I'm struggling to see the stitches as I'm making them. So my goal in using the black fabric was to not have to stitch a ton of black, but it may be easier on my eyes to go the other way and maybe just stitch it on a 25 count, like a white or off-white, and I'll just have to stitch the black. But I'm still trying to see if I can get a bright enough light that it might work okay. So this is Legend of Zelda, like I said. And I worked on, maybe this was only a 2-day one as well. I thought I did the rest for 3. But I think when I realized that I was having such a hard time, I decided to put it down. But I did get 521 stitches. The vast majority of that was over here in his face. I wanted to start seeing the details come out to make sure I was okay with the pattern. And then I believe I did more over here in his hat. I may have filled in a little bit around the circle, but I can't remember for sure. So I do love how it's turning out. I want to definitely do the pattern. At this point, it's just trying to decide whether I can keep pushing through on the black or switch. I haven't done a ton of stitches. It may be actually, I don't know. I think I'm at like maybe 1,500. It could be more, honestly, I don't remember. But it's not like I'd have to redo a ton in the grand scheme of the pattern. So we'll see. I'm not quite sure what to do with this one yet. I do like it. It looks really cool on the black fabric for sure. Sorry, I'm trying to decide where to put my stuff after I show it. Okay, so that was project number 3. Number 4 is Pandemic, which is a pattern from Long Dog Samplers. And this one was not just done on a specific day. This is one of, obviously I said it was one of my finishes for the year. So I do kind of pull it out, especially because it's an easy work piece. So, because it's so simple, it's just one color. So I've taken it to work several times. And I've gotten extra stitches that way. So this one didn't have, I think I had 3 designated days on it. And then I just kind of kept pulling it in to go to work with me and stuff like that. And I got a bunch of extra stitches that way. So I did get a total of 3,291 stitches on this one, which was a lot more than I had expected it to be. I'm trying to decide how much of this to show. Oh, and I'm stitching this one on a 28 count Lugana in the color Helix by Picture This Plus, 1/1 full cross with DMC color 939. Since I have it out of the Q-snap, this is how far I am in now. I don't want to take those other frames off because I'm still currently working on it every now and then. So that is the whole thing. Definitely on the home stretch now. I think I'm almost 84% done, which is crazy. I think I have less than 13,000 stitches to go. And then from last time, I've mostly been working in this area right here. So hopefully you can see that. So I finished off another page. So I am down to 4 pages left, which is super exciting. So I finished from last time. I got all this stuff here at the bottom that was left. I finished up the back stitching, which nice. It's been nice. Back stitching isn't overwhelming in this piece, so that's been nice for me. Not a huge backstitch person. So I finished off all of this, and then, so yeah, I think the page break was here. And then I started over on this last page to the edge and just been working down. I've completed like these lines up here. That's been incredibly satisfying to finally finish some of these motifs that were incomplete before. So I should have another page finish in May, hopefully. Obviously, I've just got about half the page to go, but this is incredibly dense. It's just like full coverage, a lot of stitches. So we'll see how long that takes me. But it seems like I've been chipping away at it pretty good. So that is my progress on Pandemic. Okay, the next thing I worked on was Realm of Middle-earth, which is a Tilton Crafts chart that is retired. And I am stitching mine on a 28 count, just a plain white Lugano, 1/1 full cross. And I only worked on this one for like a day, now that I'm remembering, because it was on a Saturday. I spun it on a Saturday, and I literally stitched almost the entire day and got over 1,000 stitches in one day. So total, I got 1,099 stitches. I think I did like another 70 the following day just to finish off the diagonal I was working on. This is where we're at from last time. So I am doing this one in pages, dog hair, in pages diagonally. So I've just been kind of starting here, and 20 row wide diagonals. Because there's a lot of similar colors. I felt like doing it in 10s I just was switching colors too much. So I've been doing it down this way. So I've just finished up this diagonal here. This is the bottom of the page. These pages are smaller than like a Heaven Earth Designs. I think these ones are only like 5,600 stitches. So like I said, I got over 1,000, almost 1,100. And you got another letter in there. Got the start of the name of this river, I believe. I don't remember if this is more letter or if it's, I think that's the N, if I'm remembering right. Yeah, because this is Rohan, so this is the N coming in right there. So that's exciting. Super fun to see details coming out. I really enjoy this one. I was a little worried when I restarted this one and my North American Mammals, which I'll show in a little bit. I was worried when I restarted them that I wouldn't like the style of stitching again, and I had nowhere to change things. Like, I didn't know where to go from this point if it didn't work. Like, what I would have had to do. I was almost ready to give up on this, so I'm really glad that it's enjoyable at this point. So, love how that one's coming out. And the next thing I worked on was Twisted Band Sampler, which I keep forgetting to bring cover photos with me, so I'll throw that up here. This is by Northern Expressions Needlework, and I'm stitching mine on a 32 count, just plain white Lugana, sorry, brain cramp, 2/2 full cross for the stitching, and then except for satin stitches, I've been just using one strand for the specialty stitches. It looks like I worked on this for about 3 days, and I did not manage to get the full band done this time, but that's okay. So I got half a band. I think there's 8 roses total in that line, so I got half of them done. Really, really love this one. Every time I add a new color, it just brings a new dimension to it. I really love that. So I'm not sure, I probably will just try to finish that other half of a band where I got an extra month essentially to add to this finish. I'll just try to get the half band of cross stitches because that's a lot of stitches. Like, if you guys can see how much stitching is in each one of those. It doesn't really look like a lot, but it adds up. So the dark green is a thinner stripe, so I might just try to get the dark green first and then do as much as I can on the light, and if I finish it, great. So I think this one is closest to a finish next. I've done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So 10.5 bands out of 17. So I've got, what's that? 6.5 left to go. And I believe that the specialty stitch underneath the one I'm working on now is the one that will hit the bottom corner on this side. So the bands will start getting shorter after that, which is really exciting. But I never get tired of looking at this one. It's a lot of fun. And the next one up was Tarot Town 2, which is another Heaven and Earth Designs chart. This one, the artist is Ciro Marchetti, and I'm stitching mine again on 25 count DMC Magic Guide, 2/1 tent stitch. Didn't quite crack 1,000 stitches on this one. I got 908, and I believe that was, maybe I did more like 2 days for most of these now that I'm remembering. I thought I got 3, but I think it's more like 2. So this is where we're at from last time. And I did use this project for my Stitch With Me that I did in the middle of the month. That was a lot of fun to try that out. I will be doing those videos moving forward about midway through the month, wherever the weekend falls. Weekends are just easier for me to film. So, but like I said, got about just over 900 stitches. And I believe most of that, there was a lot of filling in down here. There was stitches into this column over here. I think maybe I finished a bunch over here as well. Finished up that flag and stuff. I think I will just continue on this page to just get the page finish, and then I'll move the frame again from there. But I pulled all my clamps off my project so that I could wash them. So maybe I'll leave it here, maybe I'll move somewhere else. We'll see. I have really been enjoying seeing this turret come into focus though, so I might leave it so I can, if you can see, I believe that's like the frames of like the windows coming in underneath. So I may just leave it because I want to see what it looks like. So that one was a lot of fun. And if you're ever curious about like how I stitch, or like when I do 10 stitch or stuff like that, I did briefly go over that in my Stitch With Me video if you want to see it. Otherwise, you can always ask me questions down below. So second to last was Fruits of Plenty, which was the 2021 stitch along for Modern Folk Embroidery. This one, I really struggled to work on it. I don't know why. It's like I would start getting going and then something would come up and I'd have to put it down. And so I only managed 394 stitches over 3 days with this one, which was really sad because this one's usually really easy to work on because it's just 2 colors, but it just wasn't in the cards. I think I'll try to pick it up some more in May. So like I said, 394 stitches, and this is stitched on an 18 count white Aida 2/1 full crosses with DMC color 820, which is blue, and 321, which is a red. So I'll show you the whole thing since I've got it out of the Q-snap. So that's how far I am for the whole project. Hopefully the lighting's okay. It is the middle of the afternoon, so it's not as good as it was earlier. That's the whole thing together so far, which I do love how it's turning out. The piece I worked on for this month was over here. So I was literally just coming in and filling that red band down. I may have done a little bit of the blue outline, but I honestly am not 100% sure. And now that I've got it out of the Q-snap, I may switch where I'm working on for this one too, because I am a bit burnt out with this giant band of red. As much as I love seeing the shapes come out, it does get a bit tedious doing like so much of the same color. So what I'm probably gonna do is bring the Q-snap back this way, and I'll work more in the center, and there's like a big bird, and finish up that motif and stuff, so. Yep, that one will come back out soon, I'm sure. The more I put into it, the more I love it. My husband really loves this one too. I think maybe I'll make it a point to work on this one on the 4th of July because it's very patriotic. All right, and then the very last thing I worked on was a full coverage piece. Another Heaven and Earth Designs chart called North American Mammals. Again, the artist is Ciro Marchetti. I really like his stuff. I'm tempted to buy some more of his patterns, but we'll see. I only worked on this one for 2 days. I intended to work on it for 3 or 4 because this one has been neglected quite a lot since the last time I worked on it. I had to go clear back to my WIP parade to get the before picture. So yeah, I needed some love, but I got 921 stitches, so still not bad for 2 days. But this is where we're at from last time. That looks so cool. It's a little harder to like, when you've got it so close to your face, the blending doesn't happen as well, but on the camera, it always looks so cool. Fuzzies. So I'm in the middle on this one. I decided when I restarted, I would go to the middle and work my way out from there. I am I think when I was working on this last, I have started doing that step-by-step diagonal fill-in like I did on Paris of My Dreams. So I believe the tip of the page is about like in here. I think it's like even right there. And I've been starting to go this way. So I found that I get a little overwhelmed if there's, I don't know, like I have to narrow down where I'm going. Otherwise, then I'm like, well, I want to work here, but I want to work here, but I want to work here. So I sit there and try and decide what to stitch for like the first 15 minutes I'm sitting down to work on it. And then I waste time. So I just decide how I'm stitching beforehand and just follow it. And then I never have to worry about the decision part. I absolutely love how this is turning out. The more I put into it, the more of the colors I add, the detail is so cool. So hopefully you can clearly see that this is the nose of the mountain lion in the middle. I may or may not be keeping this out. I'm still trying to nail down what I want to do for May. So I may or may not keep working on this one. I would like to, because I really enjoyed working on it a lot. And now that I have a method of what I'm doing as far as the diagonal, it's going to be even easier to work on it. But we'll see. So that was the last thing I worked on. For the month of April, I only had 2 days where I didn't stitch at all, which is pretty good. And then so in Pattern Keeper, I added up 7,868 stitches. That does not include all of the stitches towards my finish on Lady Justice or the stitches I put in on my Twisted Band Sampler, because those are paper patterns and I don't count the stitches for those. So if I had to wager, it'd probably be well over 10,000 again. Because that skirt, when I started it at the 1st of April, still had like 3,000 stitches in it. So yeah, it's pretty good progress for this month. I'm happy with that. So if my update was all you were here to see, thank you so much for stopping by. I hope you come back next time. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe. All those things really help out my channel, but thank you so much for stopping by. I am gonna talk just briefly about some life stuff that's happened. Have I gotten anything new? I don't think I've gotten anything new. If I have, I can't remember. I haven't really been buying anything recently. I've just been working on what I have. But so in my Stitch With Me, and I think I maybe mentioned in my last Flosstube too that I was starting to potentially look for a new job. So I have found a new job. I got hired on last week and I start a week from tomorrow. So on May 8th, I start my new job. I'm super excited. It was kind of an interesting back and forth because I had originally interviewed with this company and then we got, for whatever reason, their communication back to me was really delayed. And I was just kind of putting in resumes at many different places, and a different company called and asked me to interview. So in the interim between when I had my second interview with the first company and then when the first company finally got back to me, I started interviewing with the second one and they offered me a job. So I came back to the first one, was like, another company's interested and I would prefer to go this way. So if you let me know. And they kind of, I don't know, I felt a little brushed off. They were like, oh, sorry, the timing just wasn't working out. We're still hiring. They wanted to interview me like 2 or 3 more times. And I was just like, I can't, no, like, no, I'm not willing to do that. So I politely declined and was like, it's fine. Please just take my name out of the running. I'm going to go ahead and take this other offer. And then they came back and they were very, very interested in having me get hired on with them. So they offered me a much more enticing package of benefits and compensation and everything. And I was very excited about that. So I accepted the position and I start with them in a week from tomorrow. So I'm really excited about that. I get to work from home. I haven't worked from home in a very long time. So I'm really excited about that. I know some people don't like it. I actually prefer it. It's kind of more my speed. So anyway, I'm really looking forward to that. But like in the midst of all the interviews and everything, it was eating up some of my time. So I think that's part of why some days I just wasn't stitching as much, because I was so focused on other stuff, getting myself ready for interviews and things like that. But it worked out. I got the job I wanted, which was super exciting. I still can't really believe it. It still feels a bit surreal right now. So that's kind of my life update. Also, my daughter went to her first formal dance yesterday, which was awesome. She looked absolutely beautiful in her dress and everything. I'm not going to put a picture because I don't have her permission, but yeah, she was really excited. It was actually a military ball for the JROTC program that she's in. So, but it looks like she had a lot of fun and she looked so pretty. I was a little sad that I couldn't be there, but okay, a lot sad I couldn't be there, but I'm glad she had a good time. So, but other than that, just same old working, all the usual. So, as I said before, I'm not sure moving forward what my plans will be in May. I know a lot of people, even though the group I think doesn't exist anymore, a lot of people still do like mania plans where they have a bunch of new starts, or they do like monogamania where they just work on like 1 or 2 things. I'm not really sure. I kind of liked the way I did it in April. It left a lot of flexibility, but still I got around to touching all of my projects, and I have enough time in a month where I can, because this was almost a WIP parade. Like, I think I only had three current WIPs that I didn't show. So yeah, we were almost at a WIP parade here. So it was really nice though to get through everything. No, I think I have 4. So I didn't work on my crowned heart. That one did bum me out a little bit. I didn't get around to that one. So I might spend more than just the 1 day. I think I'll go back to my monthly goals at least, but I might spend like 2 days on my crowned heart instead of just 1 to kind of make up for the time I lost in April. So, but we'll see. I'll let you guys know in my next update what ends up happening, or maybe my stitch with me, I'll have a more concrete plan, but I may just go back to the wheels and we'll see how it goes. So anyway, I've been talking for over 30 minutes, so I think I will go ahead and leave it there. From the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for everybody who responded on my last video and was so kind about, I had mentioned that I was feeling a lot of depression and stuff after my daughter left in March, and I really, really, truly appreciate the kindness and support that you all showed to me. You were all very just so sweet and so nice, and I think that the stitching community is one of the best ones out there. So thank you to everybody who commented. I truly appreciate that. But I hope that you are all doing fabulously. I hope that the weather is good where you are. I hope you're getting a lot of stitching time, but I'm gonna leave it there. Stay safe, stay well, and I will see you next time.